45 minutes left in the trading session. Welcome back to the close. Bit of a negative way to wrap up the week here. We have all three major U.S. indexes back in negative territory, but trying to bounce off the lows. Currently, ES still down about 0.45. We have the NASDAQ in negative territory, as I said as well. But lots of individual names to get to this afternoon. Arun is back to take us through to the weekend along with Neil. Here we go.
Neil, would you like to start this off? Because I know you got a lot to say.
You mean I got a lot to say? First of all, I'm not the one sitting in SAVA short at 87.50. Like, I'll show, like, first of all, I can show you this because I'm not very proud of it. But yeah, this is me paper handsing a SAVA short to end the show at 90. And then we got a break-even stop was pretty stupid. Obviously, I can acknowledge that. And then trying along off the low of the day, whatever. I actually was in the money when it double tapped like 67.50 and then a break up at 70. I'm like, I'll give that to the low of the day. And we're still fresh at low. So I'm not sitting in a $20 winner in Cassava Sciences. So how about you talk us through that one? I only got shorts on here. Hood, Pinterest, and XBIO, all pretty solid. But I mean, SAVA, if we hadn't already shot trade of the day, Arun, I mean, it goes without saying that would be it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty big trade. And to be fair, this trade I'm putting up on the screen right now, this is the trade that I was talking about as we were ending the show. The break underneath 88. I wanted to see how much selling was coming in. You see this, let me zoom in on this chart here. This is where I went short, and you can see me getting out. I ended up getting stopped out here, so I did lose a little bit on that first short. And the reason why I got out was it broke the level, but then this return right back into that area made me think that this was a false move. I put the stop in the wrong place, so you know what? Get right back in. Here we are, 87.48. First exit was just in front of 80, and here we are in the remaining position sitting on a $20.68 winner. So to be fair, this trade was something that was setting up all day, and I did mention it. It just took some time to get going, and once we got going, you can see this thing accelerate. How am I going to manage it? Well, you can see there's this little blue line across. I've got 72.50 to 73 as my trailing stop on whatever I've got left. That locks in about $15 or so. But for now, we are going to wait to see what this imbalance is going to bring on SAVA. Brendan, what's up?
Some of these COVID-related stay-at-home type stocks popped up about an hour or so ago. I just brought up Waiter Holdings at WTRH, another food delivery name, up 8% here. It was doing absolutely nothing all day. The CDC released some not terribly positive data as far as cases go in the U.S., so all of these stocks seem to be getting a little bit of a bid on that news today, guys.
Around here, when you have a $20 winner, you're supposed to hit a key or at least something fun, Arun. So I don't know if we want to do the pew-pew or whatnot, but I'll do it for you. I will come back to Robinhood. We'll talk about some of the positions that we're in. I want to get to FLGC making a bit of a move as well, guys. If you rewind the tape to the morning, if you're watching the show, you might have heard me say something along the lines of, I will short 35 once, I will short 37 once, if wrong, of course, and then I will short 38 once, if wrong. Well, I mean, that's not one short off of 35, clearly. There's a bunch of them in there. But at least, look, I mean, I'm not going to be, at the end of the day, it's going to be a crappy day for me on Hood just because I didn't follow my rules. But we did patiently wait for that 37 level from yesterday's actions, only trading for 2 days. So you only have those two levels to go off of, right? Like you had that 35, which is really the close. Oddly enough, the weakest of those levels. And then you're waiting around for this level here, the lower high that it put in. Now, if it had gotten to 38, that is the issue. The IPO price and the open price for Robinhood. So you wait around for it. You finally get it. Now, it is barcoding ever since rolling into this short for me here. So it holds 37. We get the last in, half my shares at the actual top at 37 when it rolled over. I take a bunch out, 2/3 of the trade to be precise, as it's trying to hold 35.50. If it breaks this level down, I'll get out one more stop in front of that 50 and the rest out in front of VWAPs. That setup looks pretty good. I actually have some Pinterest. So stick around. The trade of the day was actually long Pinterest, the stock that's down 19%. But we did see it pop up in the afternoon. Got to this 59 level a couple times, failed. Made the same low at 58. 58 being the breakout price from the pre-market this morning. And then it popped through 59, failed wick right through. Like first consolidation, I short it below 59 even. I got some out here and actually thought it was going to get range bound, so I'd be back and forth between 59 and 58.5. It hasn't been the case. I'm basically just sitting in Pinterest, about 50 pennies in the money, looking for it to break 58, and only wanting to get back in front of 59. So not much to do with this one, except sit around and collect the ducats. But I'm going to hit this key.
Pizza!
Because in honor of Sean. Sean's got the early long weekend going, and so I figured to hit that one. And if you guys want the shirt, they're actually, I have season tickets for the Jays, and so I get everything they're going to hand out for free. We get sent to the house. So at some point, this is going to be a free giveaway shirt. So I have no idea. You probably buy it in the Blue Jays store, but it's got like Lord's Guriel, it's got pineapple, and the only place pineapple should be is on this shirt or in my belly and not on a pizza, guys.
I highly disagree with that. I will be having pizza later, and I might just put some pineapple on it just because you kept bringing it up. Regarding some trades, somebody was in the chat put up, well, how come SAVA is not SSR? It is SSR. Anything over 10% or below 10% to the downside goes SSR. Why is it not halted? Because there's a specific rule in place where it has to move an X number of percentage within a 5-minute period. I can't remember what the details are specifically, but it hasn't met that criteria because it is grinding its way through. Now, if a stock had moved within that 5-minute period, if this thing took off $10 right now, you're going to see this halt. But for the way it's moving, it's doing it in a gradual fashion, so that's why you're not seeing any halts on this move, whether it's to the upside or downside. It has to do it very quickly for it to get halted. Another trade I left you guys with. Actually, I was in position when the show ended. I just want to point out how this stock actually closed out for me. Was a short on PayPal. Remember, I got short just in front of 279, got some out in front of 278. I ended up getting it out at 276 and change here, just before it kind of based down and kind of bounced back up. That trade was just a matter of management. You just take some profit along the way, and it just kind of stalled just enough to take profit. So for anyone who's wondering how PayPal fared, I did get some out, 278 and 276-ish. So average around 277, $1.50 or so in terms of winners. What am I going to do with SAVA? Because that's the only position I've got so far. I'm not, we're going into the weekend. We've got about 40 minutes left. I'm not going to be taking any more positions. So it's just a matter of making sure that this doesn't get out of hand. To the downside, great. To the upside, we just got to keep an eye on where we're going to put our trailing stop. Brendan, what's up?
One from the semiconductor group having a decent day. SIMO, which is Silicon Motion Technology, reported earnings in the pre-market this morning. 15% coming off, just failed at 75 there. Volume a little questionable. It's a little thin, but big beat for SIMO on earnings, guys.
That's a big mover, and I saw a couple people in the chat asking about FLGC, which we have traded this week, just not today, obviously. You're going to see the volume actually slowing down a little bit here, but they did just have a recent spike that broke the 760 high. You got a bit of it's not really a double top, but I guess it's kind of close enough. But just anyways, anytime, I always kind of do this, give you guys a higher time frame look, because when you see a big spike, and then you're like, oh, it's breaking out, we'll always have a look at where this thing's come from. So if it was going to make a rush into like anywhere like $10, where maybe even a lower high, which would actually make some sense, you would have a lot of volume behind this. It would take a lot for it to get to like a big fail point and breakout. And there was some clustering and failure around like $8 in the afternoon yesterday. Well, I guess in the late morning yesterday, when it tried to spike back up and failed. So it kind of feels like this might have run out of steam at that lower level, but through 8, like if there was a real volume spike and this thing were to get through 8, yeah, like maybe you'd have the halts to the upside. But remember, it's the end of the month. It's a Friday. It is the middle of the summer. So if there's no volume behind the move, watch out for those breakouts. And I'm not just saying that because MRIN did this to me on what looked like a good breakout trade. Like this holds the low, right? It was good. It was half decent short up here for me at 830. It holds 775, holds that higher low, starts to consolidate higher, and then we get a nice volume spike breaking through VWAP, consolidates, looks like it's going to be a good break right at this 860 for a nice scalp trade. I basically look a gift horse in the mouth. Can I actually get to it? No, I can't because my thing is always broken. Maybe I can't actually get to it. I'm going to cheat and do it this way. Ha, 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 ha. 1, 2, and gift horse in the mouth. I looked a gift horse in the mouth, should have scalped this out, then taken the rest out at like 920 if it had gotten there. Instead, we go paper hands because the move immediately reversed and no reason to be in marine. I want to be in and out quick if I trade this thing. Remember, they report after market today. So as far as I'm concerned, unless it's a big time rollover at 775, I'd rather stick to quick breakout trades if I can catch them. I have zero reason to get out of Robinhood. to the short side. And so I'll reiterate, like unless it breaks 35.75 like this level here and tests 35.50, I will sit in this one. It has to bounce back up and I re-enter maybe at about 36.80 or so to get back into this short. So 3 shorts on and none of them give me any reason to cover. Although now $22 in the money, Arun.
Huh? Oh.
$22.
Oh, yeah.
What do you mean, ah-ho? Like this guy.
No, it's not that. It's just like when at least this is the way I trade, right? Once I get my positions and I move my stops, I let the trade work. I don't worry about it because I have other things to look at, new positions. Once the trade's in and your orders are, your trailing stops are in, your stops are in, there's no point in staring at it because it's not going to do anything that's going to be beneficial for you by looking at it, right? It's going to do what it wants to do, so let it do it and not freak yourself out. So here I am. I was actually paying attention to the futures here because I'm considering potential shorts on the futures. Again, I'm moving on to another trade. Let SAVA do what it wants to do. I've got the management in place for that. So I'm looking at mid 90s for a potential short on the futures. I want to wait at least until 3:30, which is soon. Typically what happens is that you have some programs kicking in for the close. So closing ends a lot of programs, buy side, sell side, whatever the case is, you're going to see a run on the futures, on some stocks, just as the closing programs come in. So I want to see what happens. I would like the mid-90 shorts, potentially with a maybe high 90 stop. Even 4,400, I'm open to putting a stop up there. Just to see how we close the session, because again, end of the month, typically gets volatile. And this is why this morning we said, hey, come back towards the end to see how the close comes in, because it will get typically aggressive and volatile as we close out the session for the week, the month, everything, right? And this, to be fair, also we're closing out the month going into August, which tends to be fairly quiet. So anyone who wants to take vacations, August is the month to go. Typically I would be gone as well, but there are things happening in the world right now that kind of prevent enjoying that. So for now, we are going to be making some money in the markets and see how this SAVA keeps on going, and also keeping an eye on the futures.
Yeah, and look, you're right. This is usually a pretty slow time in the markets, but just keep in mind, there's always been movers. Like this recent market here, like you're going to get your SAVAs, you're going to get, obviously Robinhood's an IPO, but you're going to get these small caps that are all over the place. But I'll get back to XBIO because you'll see I'm sort of still sitting in this one from the morning. It's been only short for XBIO. First, when it rolled over and made this nice little consolidation break, we scalped some of that out, still held a core position. We got back in. This is all pre-market because this is at 9 o'clock. Then got back in right here at like 480. Then got a bunch of, this is the real trade that, look, I should not have missed this one, let's be honest. I should not have missed that 945 rollover, but I'm usually looking at 930 for that move. And then didn't take anything until it made a fresh low. I still had some shares up here that we covered on this pop. And then finally got more shares at 450. I've just been sitting in the last of them all afternoon here. So that's about 68 pennies in the money, start to finish. There's no point of the day have I not been short XBIO. And that'll be true until either retakes 405 or the close, unless we see 350. Brendo?
Allied healthcare products, one we talked about this morning, big volume leader today. Over 100 million shares on the day so far. So yeah, market's quiet, but if you look hard enough, there's still lots of opportunities. Guys, $10 up here. It's been up there a couple of times, failed both times, looking a little heavy heading into the last now 30 minutes of Friday.
Yeah.
I like AHPI usually. I mean, I had one trade on AHPI. Which you might have noticed here, we had a breakout at that $8 mark. It was a hold into the halt, thinking it might actually follow through. But when I always get shares out on that like reopen. That's just the way I'm going to play it. A lot of times you'll get that pop in and it would open at like 940 or so, and then if it flushed, fine. But it opened up flat, so you really only get like that 70-cent winner. The fact that it's holding up at this $10 range makes it set up for me, but maybe not the way you think. If it pops, this was a failed break at 10. If I can just go to the 15-minute chart so I can see, we talked about this 10 level before. This was a bit of a failed breakout at that same price. So if we pop back into 10, to me, that's going to be a fade off of that high of the day there at 10.25. I'll look at something like a 9.90 to like a 10 even short, just because that's not a random level. You have a couple of days worth of action around that $10 even, guys. So that's going to be the name of the game for HPI. I see Moxie. I know it's moving. Metacom, good name. Moxie, if you're playing this, it's off the size or off the volume spikes, and it's usually been a pretty much like a fade trade because it's watching paint dry on level 2 on Moxie. That's just the reality. And it's been like this. So when there's that massive size that was sitting around, like you just park an order in front of it, knowing your out is literally hitting that order. That was the way I was playing it last week. But it's since those flushes, it's been on the march back to the upside. So you got to be careful fading it. I think the real levels that I liked are a little bit higher, 19 and 20, if I'm going to stick it in for the short. So I'm kind of backing away from this. If I see a big offer, yeah, sure, I'll jump in front of it. Just scalp a short, get your 25, 50-cent winners. Maybe you catch a buck that way, guys. But I wouldn't want to jump into anything too quick on Moxie when it has been trying to make a bottom. This was a $29 stock when we were trading off that size before, cut in half. There is some runway if it breaks up, so I wouldn't want to get caught too short when liquidity not the best in Moxie.
Yeah, when it comes to trading, it's just a matter of patience. And at this point, with the market closing soon, it's going to be fairly difficult to get any positions. So any new positions anyway. So what I'm going to start doing is defending, right? In terms of SAVA, as we get closer and closer to the imbalances at 350, I'm going to have to defend this and make sure that I'm not going to get caught in a end of day buy imbalance with people trying to take profit from their shorts. So that's going to be a rush to the upside if that comes out that way. So what I'm actually going to do is tighten up these stops as we get closer to 350, just so I can actually protect against that. Now, somebody pointed out mRNA this morning, or like the read on mRNA. Well, I got slapped around by this stock this morning. A short in front of 350, got out, came back down, it went back up, and then took off. Well, they cleared this 354, 355 area, and now it's sitting pretty with some support. But from 350 all the way to 354, it's got some support to the upside. So this just looks like a consolidation. I don't know if I'd want to step into a position going into the weekend, but at the same time, come Monday, this market opens somewhere close here. I think you've got a decent support base to go after the long, with 348, 346 as your potential support or your stop if you decide to go for the long. Now, this is a great trade for a future date, right? Sometimes you're going to get these positions, you're going to get these setups, and they're not good today. Just mark them off and look at them again maybe tomorrow or at least every morning to see if that trade is available now. Because these kinds of consolidation breakouts, support builds, and all that stuff, it's good for later. So don't forget, just because it's not hot right now or it's not moving right now doesn't mean that it won't be good on another day. You don't need to be behind. You don't have to be chasing it when you can already see the potential setup and go for it, right? Just mark it off, come back to it another day. Futures, here we go. Back above 90 for the 10th time. And I'm looking for 93, 94 potential for a short. Again, 98 is a stop, maybe 4,400 depending on how it moves inside this 43, 93 through 95 area. But for now, I am potentially looking at shorts there, and we're just going to defend SAVA on the downside. See, the problem with SAVA is it's starting to stall out a little bit, and now I'm wondering if I should move the stop. But again, how far are we? We're about 17 minutes from the imbalances coming out. So I'm going to say no to that, but I might actually end up just getting stopped out as people try to get out before the weekend.
I mean, when you're getting stopped out and it's like 20 bucks in the money, you got to celebrate those ones. I got NEO up here because I know there's a lot of barcoding going on here. I mean, this is not terribly interesting unless it breaks 44. It's holding up really, really nicely here, so I wouldn't necessarily want to be forcing the action on a trade like this. It's just when you're going into like into the weekend in the summer, like you got to trade what moves or just be very, very patient. That's why we're going to go through the things that make sense to us and answer some questions. It sucks if you guys I feel you, Matt Walsh here saying he cannot short Robinhood, and I know a lot of people can't. We actually had to pay 5 cents a share today, or at least a little bit, maybe like 5.25 cents a share for it. So, always check with your broker. Every now and then that's going to happen. It kind of sucks when things set up pretty well and you can't do anything about it. I saw your question. Personally, for me, I'm not much of an active in crypto. I buy and hold and basically have been doing that. But it's hard to argue with the fact that we're still barcoding around 40 on Bitcoin. But I do see Ethereum like actually trying to break this 2,400. It's not unreasonable, especially going into the weekend when look at those moves on Sunday, that if you think there's a chance at a dip and you like some levels down there, like maybe you really want to pick something up. I would wait till 1,800 on the real dips, but if you really wanted to pick something up on a dip to 21, yeah, then why not? Like you park whatever you do, like if you park and tether, that's your thing, or you actually just sell and get back in, do your thing. It's not a horrible level to do it at, especially knowing that if there's a dip that would come, it would certainly be a lot of times over the weekend on that Sunday. The market is down, so I guess you also have that going for you there if you want to park some profit. It's never a bad thing when your gut tells you that you want to take profit out of something and then allocate that capital somewhere else. I have no problems with that. I do have to adjust because with 25 minutes left, if it's your first time checking in, both Arun and I, and when Sean's trading as well, we've got to be flat by the end of the day. So, I can't just sit in this Robinhood short forever and just say I'm not going to take anything out. As we get closer to the close, I'll probably have to put some shares in here or get some shares out again around this 36 level. I'd like to think that it would break down, but much like I just showed you the chart of NEO, we're sustaining these levels to the upside. So you might not get the home run that you want because the market might just not move, or at least Robinhood might not move. Brendan?
One more to look at, guys. BCEL up here heading into the close. This one, interesting because, and I'll show you this, 22.9% on the short side. It's also a relatively low float stock, about 30 million shares. So this popped up going back to about 2:30 this afternoon, trying to make new highs here, BCEL.
All right, I'm just going to address this super chat. Mike, thank you for having my back. I'm not really paying attention too much to what's happening in the chat, so I appreciate someone having my back there. Yeah, when I trade, I just kind of do my thing, right? I'm focused on what I'm doing, and a lot of times, I know that some people were saying, oh, I don't smile. No, unfortunately, when I'm focused, I do not smile. It's just, when some people have a resting blank face, yeah, that's me all day, every day, unless I'm actually doing something fun. So unfortunately, that's how I kind of live my life. But thank you for having my back. And someone was asking about how I move my stops. Well, it's just a matter of putting a type of order, right? It's called a stop order. So in our system, we have different stop orders. We have the market stop and we have a stop limit. I just use a market stop. In this case, it's sitting here just above 72. And if I want to move it, I just cancel it and put a new one out. And some brokerages, depending on which ones you're using, can allow you to just adjust the parameters. For us, it's easier for us because we use keyboard setups, right? I'm faster with my keys and adjusting the criteria. Yeah, I'm faster with my keys and adjusting the criteria of the stops.
See, and this is not to call everyone, you got to do what works for you, because I will tell you, we actually have, we have a cancel replace function where we can actually change our stop order. I can just go in my order log and cancel, I can click it, and then I can just change the amount of shares or the price, right? So that is available, but you know what? If you're just faster on your keys, like your hotkeys, get one at, cancel that one, escape, and then throw another one in there. Do what works for you, right? Arun's got a classical BlackBerry. I've got the key too. We get mocked all the time for it, but it's Team BlackBerry around here. There's no Sean to say that we're chumps, although I'm sure you guys can just tell us that we shouldn't have BlackBerries, and it's probably true. But you got to do what works for you. And at the end of the day, if you're faster and more accurate, canceling and replacing, I like using the actual like function where I don't have to actually cancel the order. It's just, you got to do what works for you, man. There's no right or wrong way to do things. Some people some people on this Robinhood trade, they wouldn't scalp any of it out. If you're shorting off 37, maybe you're only getting out here at that first cluster at 36.20. For me, when I'm counter trend, I kind of feel like I'm always going to scalp a piece of it out, especially in that setup, because I'm going against a strong move to the upside and a stock that was sitting and opening at 38 yesterday and has at least some people that are strong backers of it. But at the end of the day, trade your own book, trade your own style. We have a wealth of different experience here. I'm telling you, the way Arun trades, the way I trade, the way Brendan trades, the way Sean trades, are all completely different. And the way all you guys trade should be different, guys. And that's the reality. I'm using the same broker, but how? Omar, thank you for the super chat. Which broker are you talking about? Just so we can quickly answer your question. And the answer is, I am not invested in BlackBerry. I invest in Apple. Some people say invest in what you know or what you like. I'm like, nah, I'm kind of an oddball and a bit of a nerd. So I'm like, I will invest in the things that the masses like, because if I'm into it, probably most people don't like it. I'm going to the Jays game. People think baseball is dead. I'm a gigantic fan. I can't wait. If you're watching the feed of the Jays game, you see a guy in a Hawaiian suit going absolutely nuts in a stupid mask, that'll be me. You know it's Trader TV Neil. I cannot wait to be in a stadium drinking overpriced beer for the first time in 2 years.
Well, there you go. He wants to drink overpriced beer watching a boring game. That's fine. That's just my personal opinion on baseball. I know he's a huge baseball fan, and for all the baseball fans in the chat, I'm sorry, but I'm still going to say it's boring. Futures. here we go. It is backing off these 92s and back towards 84. Now, I really wanted it to keep on going so I can fade it into the 94, 93, 94 area. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. I may have to readjust. I'm thinking now below 85 is where I'm going to start stepping into some shorts. See if we can't get some pressure to the downside, because it does look like there's going to be some pressure to the downside as we get going on this market here. With the imbalances, remember, I did say that we were going to get some activity after 4:30 as the programs kick in to move this market around. You're seeing it in a lot of the, well, I want to say a lot of the stocks, but at least in the futures, you're seeing it. SAVA, you saw that bounce back. That's probably profit taking, coming back into some support. So I'm expecting this area to hold. We've got less than 10 minutes left. Hopefully it holds enough so I can actually see what this imbalance looks like. So for now, yes. And Mike, yes, I do have a BlackBerry. I right here, old school, passport, right there. So I'm still rocking this. And the last time I was on, I said to everybody that I only have 6 months left with this BlackBerry because it's being phased out. So at the end of the year, I'm going to need a new phone, unfortunately. And it doesn't look like BlackBerry is going to be able to come out with one in time. So me and Neil have somewhat agreed partially for him to move on, and I can take his. But again, there's a lot of conditions attached to it. So for now, I'm just holding out hope that I can get a BlackBerry before the end of the year.
It's a pretty large condition because like my daughter absolutely loves like just playing on the keys. So I kind of feel like when I move on from it, I was going to give it to her because she just loves hitting them. But thank you, Arun. Now I probably pretty much have to let you have it. It's still a fantastic phone. Mine is basically, look, it's an Android phone with a BlackBerry keyboard. So the Key 2 is different from that Passport, which is still a real BlackBerry. Tesla, look, someone just said, Neil, I hope you enjoyed that 700 short on Tesla. It didn't quite get there. I mean, yeah, it kind of did. Yeah, it did. 697.50, so yeah, 700. That's pretty much close enough. But that's a pretty good win there. Now, obviously, this is around the same time that I'm at that time, SAVA, at that time, Robinhood, which are bigger plays. You got to pick your spots. I mean, whether we're looking at Pinterest at the same time as well, still sitting in XBIO. And it's not to say that, you know, it's not an A-plus setup. Like I've been waiting for, and I've probably said it like every single day when Tesla comes up there that I would short 700. So I get it. I probably should be short 700. But there were other fish to fry, and I think that's what I went with here. It feels like it was the right decision. Although, at least one of these trades, and every single time I go to flip to Pinterest, I keep hitting like NQ, and I know it's a New York stock. And now popping back up. I'm out of this thing if it breaks 59, so we might actually have a losing trade for you here. That is not Neil long SAVA. It'll be Pinterest if it breaks 59. That's a bit of a volume spike. And it's not even on imbalances, so this is one you'd have to watch for. After earnings, anytime you have like an earnings move, it's down 18%, it's the end of the month, there's a decent chance that you could have a decent imbalance here over in Pinterest, and I wouldn't want to get caught off guard. So I'm definitely going to have a stop in here at that 59 level. There's no way I would let it go through, so might have to take the hit. It'll be a flat trade because I did take like a 25-cent win, so if I lose 25 in the back end, basically flat. Brendo?
Not much in the way of earnings aftermarket tonight, but this one coming Monday, guys. Take two. TTWO just popped up on a volume scanner. It's up nicely on the day, actually. Just a big rejection there at 174. So selling off a little here into the close for TTWO.
All right, something I'm doing right now is actually I just realized a lot of people actually want to see this. So I'm just making it more visible. Our imbalance locator. There we go. It's big enough. I'm just going to put it up here. This is our imbalance locator. Right now it's loaded with some pre-market or pre-imbalance data. Ignore it. At 350, you're going to see these numbers change. And that's going to be the big update that we're going to be waiting for at 350 to see how this imbalance comes out. Negative, positive, how big on each one of these stocks. Right now you see some random data in there. So just ignore that for the time being. And futures, man, they are sliding. This is not going to work out. I think I got to give up hope on these 90s. So next stop is going to be below 85. That's where I'm looking to get some. If we can't, get some with some momentum to the downside. And then first target would be like around 81, 80. Not going to risk a whole lot. There is some decent support around the 80s, 78 through 80. If we get through that, I think open season on the low 70s on the S&P futures going into the close. So this will be quite interesting, I think, to see this close, given, like I said, it's the end of the month, end of the week, blah, 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 all that stuff. It's going to be quite aggressive. I would imagine it's going to be quite aggressive with the way the things are moving around. And given how the tech stocks move today, I think you're going to see some imbalances through the tech market that could really move these indexes. Because you remember, and I've said this before, there's 6 stocks that control over 40% of the index, of the NASDAQ index. So those are the Apples, the Microsofts, the Googles, the Facebooks. So there's 6 of them that control 40% of one index. The same 6 control 20% of the S&P 500. So 6 out of 500 controls 20% of the largest, one of the largest indexes in the world, the S&P 500. So just be aware that that is a issue to deal with when these imbalances come out on these tech stocks.
And we're rolling it in the hood. I don't know, because like my thing is still broken, Rob, wherever you are. So this one is, okay, there we go. Power it up. Finally, Robinhood rolls over. Of course, like right after, I'm like, okay, I got to take some out because it doesn't feel like it wants to move. We're getting close to the close. I don't know if there's going to be an imbalance. A lot of times with IPOs, you don't really see gigantic imbalances on the first couple of days. It's more about the names that are in indexes that probably have a little more options action on them. You're going to see a bigger imbalances. But it's still, it was getting close to 350 at 340 time where you got to get some out. So I do. It does make that test of 35.50. So we're going to be able to bag a $1.30 winner on it. Now keep in mind, it was a complete gong show for me on in the morning on Robinhood. And then we sort of, anytime I break a bunch of rules, it's like I break 1, 2, 3. I broke a ton of rules with Robinhood. And it's like this morning, including not getting right back in when my original level held. And then just completely revenge trading it off of this at 34 because I'm like, well, if I just trade smaller shares, I can take any price I want, which is a dumb thing to do. And then essentially like flatting, it's like ridiculous. And then flatting it here, which is a dumb trade. And then getting right back in way too early and then losing, and then getting right back in and paper handsing it. But I took the afternoon off. Like I said, don't trade it till lunch. The only level I care about at that point is if it goes to 37, right? So once I got that trade, it's like just sit in it. That's what we should have been waiting for. If I had the same level of discipline around 35, this would be my #1 stock, and the trade of the day would be Hood and not in Pinterest. Obviously, it should be SAVA Sciences, but Arun made that trade too late. That's your fault, Arun. What's up, Brendan?
Software maker just making day highs and all-time highs. MiTek Systems, MITK, up 14.5% here. Just took out that 22. Finally, it rejected there a couple times, but big volume spike there at day highs again. All-time highs for MITK.
Quick update. SAVA, I actually got out of SAVA. I got above 88, was willing to kind of stabilize above 68, and I don't want to see this imbalance. So I've seen enough. I'm worried about profit taking happening on this stock going into the imbalances. So why not just take, what was that, like a $19.50 winner or something like that? Whatever. That's done now. So we're moving on. Futures is going to be the next trade that's up. I'm looking for this continuing sell side move. If we can get underneath 85, I think I'll step in and take some shots.
So I see DD. Thank you, Kishore, and anybody like Chaos. Is there DD news? I'm not sure, but well, I can say damn. That damn sure is a volume spike. You better believe it. So anyways, I haven't traded this one since the morning. I showed it the pop, and that's the only thing I wanted to do. But this kind of feels like without news, $10 even. It's so hard not to just hit the bid without knowing, but that's a pretty solid volume spike. The imbalances are coming out in 2 minutes. And like taking this trade on a stock, like DD's been in play, all these Chinese names have been in play. It's hard to look at this, and then if a buy imbalance comes out in 2 seconds, and then you get short off this on a technical, like you basically have to have a 10 or a 10.05 stop. Like there's no way to give it more room right in front of these imbalances coming out. So that's a long way of saying, okay, I'm going to get into the shares still, but it's going to be an absurdly tight stop here because we're a minute and a half till imbalances coming out. I don't want to get caught off guard. And then suddenly you're going to get like a crazy imbalance on DD here, guys. So I'm not saying there will be. It could be a decent rollover short. And like I can give the imbalances to you guys here. By the way, like when I do this, like I still have charts and level 2s up, so I'm not trading blind. Like these are charts I trade off. I show you guys these nice clean charts. We have another way of looking at the market anyways, but I'll see if I can't get my imbalance up for you guys that you can see it, because I'm kind of curious to see what happens with DD in just a couple of minutes. And all I care is does it come to the top of the list, right? Like I'll sort it eventually to go look for it, but if it comes to the top of the list, that's when I'd be concerned. I still have that Robinhood trade. It's looking pretty good at 35.50. That's about $1.40 in the money. I mean, XBIO, I can pretty much just sit on the bid here and try to get at like 94. If it pops up and breaks 4 even, I'll get out of that one. But now it's all about those imbalances. Like you get an early look here to see what they're looking like they will be before that 350 hits, but then they'll pop in. You see what they are for real. So a lot of times these don't matter. I know Dole was a big mover. We were joking about this, Brendan. I was actually surprised that Dole wasn't like owned by I don't know, like Pepsi or Mondelez, that brand. But anyways, they were at big mover and shaker today, so I'm not surprised if they come out as a big imbalance. For now, DD's in the money about 5 cents. I got that 9.95 short. I can show you here what basically happened. Big volume spike up right into a 10 even area right before the imbalances come out. Because if it's like even a small sell, like goodness, it could be right back at like 9.75, and that means I should have a bid just in case it's a sell imbalance to get it out right away. So they're about to pop in here. You will see, there you go, like it pops in. I mean, I don't see it. CCL is kind of big. I mean, AT&T, American Airlines, as long as I don't, there's no volume spike on DD. So DD not there. Sell on Apple of 1 million shares. Verizon, small sell, 850. Like there's some millions in here, but I mean, what names do you recognize? GE, $13 stock. AAL, $20 stock there. Probably not going to move the needle too much. And the one that matters for me is it was not in DD. But the good news for me, at least, is I'm in the right way. I still have a tight stop. I still think we can get at least a VWAP here so I can take a nice little scalp win. That'll give me a good opportunity. I still have that Robinhood trade, and I didn't think there would be a buy imbalance on it. It spiked down right into 350, right into 35.21 there, and I should have maybe taken this one out. But you know what? I can just put a trail on this. Like if it breaks 35.60, that last out that I had, I'll just cover the trade at that point. Otherwise, I'll let it ride into the close. I didn't see any imbalance on Robinhood there, so not really going to shock me too much. We're deep in the money on it. No reason to cover this one. I think we'll be pretty good. Just to show you what happened over in Pinterest. Again, I kind of thought there'd be an imbalance on pins. I don't see anything. I'll have to maybe scroll to see if I can find it by alphabetical, but nothing too big on Pinterest. At least it's not a 500,000. So this out's not going to age well. At the end of the day, my stop was at 59, so it's going to hit 59. I'm going to get out. Probably going to continue to roll to the downside. Someone asked in the chat about calls for pins. All I will say is this. I mean, you guys remember the afternoon show? Like how many times we're all like, this feels bad for Pinterest. Snapchat actually had great numbers and went to the downside. Facebook solid numbers went to the downside, and they both met their user addition numbers, and then pins missed by 7%. So like, there's not much good to say about this in I guess like the next few months or the next couple of quarters. But if you're into that sort of thing, you do have an obvious stop area down like this 52 to 55 range. So you kind of know where you're wrong, and it's not a horrible setup if you know where you're wrong. I liked it for a day trade today. And the Stockfather, even Mark, was saying, okay, these are good levels for you as a day trader. I don't know how long you want to hold that swing for, but now you're going over the weekend in the worst name. Well, check that. In the second weakest name that I can find in the market, the weakest, of course, is Arun's SAVA that he got out of. He could have just rolled the market on close to see what happens, because it's still below 70. I cannot believe this stock. It's unbelievable how weak Cassava Sciences is. And just because I always like doing this, it's not that I like doing it. It's just that sometimes it's fun to be able to say, when you know exactly what you did wrong in a trade, in this particular case, you should never have a break-even stop in this situation. As a matter of fact, like this 90, the fact that it broke up and then did not even test this lower high at 92.70, like I don't mind getting stopped out at this one. We talked about that in the morning show, and maybe should have gotten in at the 95 failure. But when you're taking this 90 break, you can't take that trade unless you are willing to give it to that 92, 92 half or 93 or the 95, right? Like there's no point being in it. A break-even stop there, just because it happens to have a tight range and it's lunchtime and it's not moving, the stock is bat-ish crazy, so you know it's going to be a mover. And the other thing about it too is you could also just get back in when it retakes this level down here, and that's going to be 85. When 85 went, even if you're not in it already, like that's just a hell of a breakdown. It's the opening range bottom. You have a clear stop level. Whether it's all the way back into 90 for $5, it doesn't matter. Like there's all kinds of ways you could have gone short this thing today. And my biggest regret is that I was in the short twice on Cassava Sciences, like twice. And this is like the greatest short of all time. Like yesterday was pretty good, and I took off $7 when I could have had like 15 to 20. And then today I was shorted twice when I could have had 20. And I'm just glad. Like, Arun and I were talking about this all afternoon, and I learned a heck of a lot about how I would approach this the next time. And I don't even mind the losses on the long, because they were all very disciplined and had a pretty good plan of action. But missing the short, man, that stunk.
Yeah, it's tough when a trade goes without you, especially when you've been watching it. And sometimes that happens. It's just a matter of knowing that's the case and actually working on it, working on making sure that you're entering it when the trade needs to be entered. Sometimes it's out of your hands, or you're not at your desk, or whatever the case is. Now, I got out, like I said, just before the imbalances came out, because the way they were stabilizing above 68, which I was expecting to kind of hesitate at. But the fact that they were stabilizing, we still had the imbalance to come out, and people, I know that at the end of the day, obviously anyone who's riding the short is going to want to get out as well. So I'll get out ahead of that. So I got out 68.53 or something like that, and got my positions out. Here we are towards 70. That trade's done, right? Let's keep an eye on this imbalance here. Everyone that wants to pay attention to the imbalances, I'll explain it after, but just keep an eye on the imbalances, because in about 5 seconds, you're going to see a massive change in the numbers that go across this board. Because 355 provides an update from the floor. And this enters all the dequote orders, or the flow orders that are sent to the flow brokers into the system, right? At 350, you get the first set of imbalances, and at 355, you get an update. And you can see there's now AT&T has got a sell side imbalance of 3.2 million shares, having already paired. I'll explain each one of these categories for everyone who this is the first time seeing it. Has a 3.2 million share imbalance with a 5.2 million share pair value. So what it says is that there's roughly 8 million shares total. So you add the two up, and of the 8 million, 5 million has already been allocated to somebody who's willing to take the opposite side of the position. So there's still 3.6 that needs to be found, or buyer needs to be found. Of course, imbalances, they shrink. If they don't shrink, the market maker has to figure out how they're going to allocate that into their own book, right? So that's why you have aggressive moves towards the end of the day. This is specifically the New York imbalances. Let me switch over to the NASDAQ imbalance locator. And before I do that, actually, I want to point out, for anyone who's never seen an imbalance locator, it just gives you a look into what the closing orders are for any given stock. Now, I can kind of look at a specific stock if I wanted to by filtering in, but I want to see the broad market. And imbalance locators will generally give you the direction there's going to be pressure in on an individual stock. So in this case, we'll take a look at AT&T because it's got the largest imbalance. This will probably get paired as we get closer, because some of these big names, they tend to kind of move, not aggressively, but they get paired more often than not, just because there's willing buyers in these highly liquid names, right? So for anyone who wants to know what pressure looks like, this is how we look at it towards the end of the day. Can you get an imbalance locator from your broker? You have to contact your broker. Again, we're running it through Daytrade the World, which this is built into the platform. Yeah. Anyone who wants to know what this software is Daytrade the World software. This is how we trade. This is why we use keyboard setups. And one of the tools that we have access to is the imbalance locator, sent directly from the exchanges into our system, processed and put out in this form, so we can actually see what it looks like. Brendan, what's up?
Just real quick before the market closes here, guys, wanted to get this out. Royal Caribbean, this was out about lunchtime, but Royal Caribbean, I can show you the stock. It's down about 4%. The entire group under pressure today. Apparently 6 guests, I apologize, on one of their ships tested positive for COVID-19. 2 apparently were vaccinated. The rest were not, but were all children. So a heads up on RCL, dragging the entire cruise ship group down, guys.
Yeah, that's not a good look, unfortunately. I was going to hit a key to celebrate Hood, but I'm not going to do that. That's kind of bad news there, obviously. Robinhood turns negative on the session. I got out at 35, and I put in the chat, I said, I saw a 50,000 bid sitting right in front of 35 with minutes to go to the close, so I'm going to get out of it. I got like one trade I'm going to put on in Toronto just to get an imbalance on it end of the month here. But outside of that, it's been an absolute blast. I hope you guys have had a lot of fun here. We all miss Sean. I know he's going to have a great long weekend. It's a Canadian holiday on Monday, but we're here because U.S. markets are open, so don't even worry about it. That's what we're all about. Go Blue Jays. Obviously, if you're not a Jays fan, then you're doing it wrong. And like I said before, if you see that guy acting a fool at the Jays game, it's probably me. There's not going to see anybody else in this ridiculous Hawaiian Lords Gurriel shirt. We're trying to have a little bit of fun with it. It's been a fantastic show as always, but I will say this market, after Amazon, look, if Amazon's going to be down and they're going to miss for the first time in like 3 years on revenue, the idea that we're going to get positive this market today was probably an unbelievable long shot. So I'm not really surprised that we'll end this one up in negative territory today. I don't think anybody would really be either. It's just, I think there's going to be a point where you can start to pick some of these up to the downside, which is fair. But Miss Valeria could have had all of the green, like green shirt, green earrings, green hair, whatever, and we probably would have needed even more luck than that. She is on the bell. That's a little bit early, Lucas. I see you over there. We're in Friday mode, man. It's fine. It's been a fantastic show. Arun, man, I've learned a heck of a lot just sitting next to this guy. You see, I'm down on SAVA. Look at that. But you see, like $23 on SAVA. Unbelievable. I wish it was the trade of the day, but it was an afternoon trade. It'll be Pinterest. Yes, Pinterest was pretty good, but SAVA was much, much better. Stick around for it. You'll learn a heck of a lot how stock can be down so far, and yet we're still going to go long and make a win. Time to drop the bell to end the week and the month, the trading month. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Ring it, Miss V. And the market is closed. No, just whatever. So let's see how things ended up. I'm telling you, we never really thought it was going to be positive today, but it was not an absolute bloodbath there, Brennan. Like I'll say, the way the day started, I wouldn't have been too surprised if we had been like down 1%. So it's a resilient market. Then Amazon can do what it did, and we're only 0.5% here. Pinterest, I mean, there's not much you can say about it that you're going to love in Pinterest today, outside of the fact there was an opportunity for that one long there.
Yeah, let's call it a healthy decline. How about that? A little pullback after an otherwise positive month. I mean, we said at the beginning of the day, guys, still nicely positive for the month right across the board as far as these three are concerned. NASDAQ led today, 0.5%, 0.45, 0.49. Brazil, 275. Ethereum at the bottom there. Nice day, 3% to the upside, but still positive, though, for equities to wrap up. It's hard to say that, but wrap up July.
It's almost depressing to say that, to be honest with you. Like, it's been like, you know what it's like. We haven't been able to go outside until recently, so we're all excited to be able to do that. I know some places are starting to lock it down. We're just starting to have a little bit of fun, which we do every single day, and we'll do again on Friday, on Monday. I will double down, triple down, quadruple down, and saying thank you, Arun, for stepping in for Sean. And I got to go right down the line. You know what time it is for Miss V. For Arun. For Brendan Wickens, for Sean Katina, who's not here, for the entire crew. I don't know where Rob is. He was out like on the street the other day, or just earlier on, but we do have Lucas and Maggie right there. Jeff, a new member of the team, he rang the bell this morning. He couldn't stay till the close. I am Neil Roberts. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Trader TV Live. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.